Imagine someday you have met someone. You two talk for hours, you start sharing routines, plans, intimacy, and everything feels great, everything feels light. But suddenly, a small moment happens. A delayed reply, a strange tone, a new friend to talk about, and jealousy is now making residence in your mind. You don't say anything because why would you? But a thought forms on its own. Can I really trust this person? Infidelity sits in the background of nearly every serious relationship. Some deal with it pretty rapidly, some carry resentment and judgment, and others use just the idea of cheating as an excuse, either to not enter a relationship or to just say that men are pigs and women are whores. But this isn't a video on the psychoanalysis of why do people feel jealousy and fear being cheated. This is a video about what actual research can tell us about the true motivations that makes both men and women do those things. This is a video about the evolutionary psychology of cheating. Researchers set out to answer two basic questions: who cheats more and what motivates it? Across several studies on heterosexual and homosexual couples, they analyzed self-reported infidelity, long-term trends, and emotional versus sexual drivers. One large longitudinal dataset showed that among married heterosexual men, about 28% reported extramarital sex in 1975, dropping to roughly 10% by the 2000s. Now, there are many reasons for why this might happen. It could really be a real drop, but it could also be that people just became more close to talk about those things. In either case, for married heterosexual women, the numbers went from approximately 23% in 1975 to about 14% in the 2000s. Among gay men, rates were dramatically higher, ranging from 83% down to 59%. While lesbian women showed much lower rates, declining from about 28% to 8% over the same period. In other words, although men had a significantly higher tendency to cheat, especially in gay couples, heterosexual women didn't fall too behind, leaving the case to say that perhaps the number of non-cheating in both men and women are mostly pretty similar. The real difference, therefore, isn't on the tendency and the numbers, but rather in the motivations. For this, another study found that, in terms of subjective motives, women most frequently reported cheating due to a lack of attention, emotional closeness, and perceived love from their partner, while men most commonly cited lack of sexual involvement for this. Importantly, one experimental study showed that men who say they would consider cheating had significantly higher testosterone levels compared to men in relationships who say they would not do it, suggesting a biological contribution to sexual motivation rather than purely social influence. The results point to something deeper than simple betrayal, something that evolutionary psychology knows and explains really well. Men and women don't cheat for the same reasons. Men most often report a lack of sex as a primary trigger. Apparently, for men, sexual intimacy is strongly tied to emotional bonding. Men need sex to feel connected with their partner. Without sex, this connection collapses, and he is motivated to seek it somewhere else. Perhaps because of the sensation of conquest, of serotonin, of achievement, and being able to seduce. Who knows? After all, men are really driven by success, and sex is, wanting or not, a good measure for it. Women, on the other hand, most frequently cite emotional neglect as the reason for cheating. Distance, coldness, lack of attention, or feeling unloved. For women, emotional connection usually comes first, and sex follows as a confirmation of that bonding. This also explains other studies on why men tend to find sexual contact more unforgivable, while women are more disturbed by emotional involvement. For a man, knowing that his lover had sex with others isn't something the couple can return from the male perspective. While for women, knowing that her partner is having dates, gifts, time together, or even being in love, even if they don't have any sexual contact, that can be just as hurtful for them. Women are driven for the social connections and security. It also explains those weird videos of Japanese women saying that they would be fine if their partner wanted to pay for sex. The women in those videos explicitly say that as long as there isn't any emotional involvement, they would be pretty okay, or at least prefer that than to have him having sex with a friend or a regular person, for example. Weird, right? But it makes sense. After all, this wouldn't create any emotional ties. One particularly revealing finding showed that women who had cheated in the past rated sexual infidelity as more distressing than women without a history of cheating, suggesting internal conflict or projection even. People often struggle with the very behavior they themselves enact. From an evolutionary perspective, again, these patterns align with long-standing reproductive strategies that is very simple. Male psychology evolved around access and mating opportunity, while female psychology evolved around emotional security and partner investment. This doesn't justify betrayal, but it explains why motivations diverge so consistently across cultures and time. So we return to the everyday question, who cheats more? And the answer is uncomfortable for anyone looking for a villain. Both sexes cheat at roughly the same rate. What differs, therefore, are the motivations shaped by biology, psychology, and evolution. In a way, men do it for sex and women do it for emotions. Men seek sex to feel emotionally connected, while women seek this emotional connection to desire sex. Applied correctly, this knowledge doesn't justify betrayal, it explains it. An explanation gives us leverage to communicate better, to notice early warning signs, and to meet each other's needs before resentment builds. Infidelity isn't proof that one sex is worse than the other. It's proof that male and female drives are different. And unless those differences are consciously addressed, both sides will keep repeating the ancient mistakes. If you are a man, be more aware of the emotional needs of your woman. And if you are a woman, be more aware of the sexual desires of your partner. It isn't as simple as this, but it is a good starting point. If you have any comments or stories to share around this topic, tell me in the comments below. My name is Julius Caesar, and if you are looking for a consultation, check the link in the description, and I see you in the next time. Bye bye.